Oh yes. It's Brady.
Caw.
And Levi.
Levi.
Do the bird noise.
Caw.
Caw.
Nerdish.
It's nerdish with a 3, not nerdish with an E. Why?
8 to 9:30 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, because nerdish with an E was taken.
And that's why we do it 8 to 9:30 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Thank you for giving that reason for a question that I didn't ask.
That's sort of like the way we eliminate answers on the reading section.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess the other sections to a certain extent.
I think it's important when doing a rap to listen to the beat that's happening in your ear. Otherwise, you have a problem staying on beat.
Correct. We do the ACT and SAT, they're standardized tests to help you get into college.
We don't tutor rap. We shouldn't ever do that.
No, we're not pretending to be tutors of rap, even though we're really good. Sometimes you can be really good at something, but not be a good teacher. Case in point.
Point in case.
Point in case word.
Point in case something bad happens.
Like this?
Yes.
I think we're enriching your lives by you watching this.
I'm getting a phone call from a friend. Do you think I should pick it up now?
The phone call just was dropped. Maybe he'll leave you a voicemail.
Next time, I'll pick it up during the stream. That way we can all talk to my friend Steve.
If you think this is not very high quality, don't worry. We're gonna do it again in 2 weeks.
Also, we're much better quality when we're teaching you all the things in a number tree.
Like prime factorization?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
You break a number down into its prime parts until you can't break them down
We
anymore.
can probably do that right now.
Yeah, we might.
Okay, so let's say 32.
I was going to say 30. That's so close.
Oh my gosh.
All right, break it up, break it up.
Okay,
Any way
okay.
you want. 2 and 16.
Okay, 2 and 16.
2 and 16. 16 is 4 and 4.
Okay, 4 and 4. Oh,
And
interesting.
each
So
4
16
is
a perfect
2,
square.
2. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 2 and 2 and 2 and 2.
So it's 2 to the 5th.
Yeah, it's 2 to the 5th.
2 to the 5th, exactly.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
You see that? It's that quick, now you know. Think about that for our whole show.
Now stop watching the stream because you've learned everything necessary.
Bum, 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 bum. We're in a box. You can help us by asking us questions in the hope that someday we can escape.
Hey, there they are.
Look at
There
everybody.
they are.
There's everybody.
You guys remember this guy? This guy never has his shirt on.
Oh, God.
Hey, it's Eric TLT.
Eric, sorry. Hey, so your question last night I did not see because I immediately just did other things after the stream.
That's nice of you.
Yeah. You asked where to do SAT questions. Do you still have that question, or were you able to find a happy place for yourself to practice stuff online and such? There are a bunch of free practice tests.
He's right. He doesn't say things that are wrong.
Never. No.
We're doing function notation.
Natesh.
Yeah.
Natesh word.
Notation word. We're gonna do function notation word.
Darn it, Eric, I don't know if that means... Still looking, very good.
That's good.
Thank you for clarifying, that's awesome. Okay, so places to do practice questions. It depends on... So, okay. I just want more information because then I can give you a better answer. Are you just starting prep, and when is the test that you're taking, and how much time are you planning to put in, and is this your... Okay, so... Are you just starting prep now? When is the test you're taking, and are you taking tests after that one?
They'll just say yes. We get that sometimes.
Well, yeah, but he said yes already.
No. Oh, yeah.
And then he clarified, so he knows.
Yeah.
He knows. He knows. Ah, okay. Middle of trig homework right now. Very good.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah,
Do you
right in
ever
the middle.
Being in the middle of it.
Yeah, in medias res.
What?
Right?
Is that Latin?
Yeah.
In medias res?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Start in the middle.
Oh.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no! What are you doing?
How you doing? Oh no!
Oh no! We gotta talk to you like this.
Oh no! It's great to
Oh my
see
god! Oh no!
you. We have been talking about you non-stop.
Oh, every time.
Yeah. So what are you doing today? I'm gonna do function notation. No, you don't.
You do.
Oh no, you love it.
You hate that.
You don't like when we do that.
You dislike when we don't.
But you like disliking it.
Do you not though? When you didn't?
He's got a good point.
Anyway, we're not helping. You should probably do that. Real
Function
quick
notation.
before
Yeah.
Holly leaves.
We're doing fun stuff here.
I don't know.
All right. So you get a line. All right. Very standard line. Y equals 5x plus 3. All right. That's slope-intercept form. We can also, hey, May 4th, SAT. I'm pretty good at math, so I wouldn't say starting prep now, but the other subjects, yes. You see that? Levi's on it.
Yep.
Levi's on it. Okay, so this is a line, slope-intercept form. Function notation is just a different way of writing this, but it's the same thing. It's fundamentally the same thing. Here's what it looks like. F of x is equal to 5x plus 3. This means the same thing as y equals 5x plus 3, but there are a couple of advantages of using this notation, and here's what they are. Number one, you get to call a function something. In this case, they're calling it f, okay? If you have a function that's like height, you might want to call it h. H of t is equal to, negative 16t squared plus 10. That would be falling from a height of 10 feet. You get to call it something. You also get to tell the reader immediately what the input is. Just a little definition of a function. A function is something that takes in numbers, so we got function right here, and maps them to an output. All right? So there's an input, and then there's an output. And a function takes numbers from an input, and it somehow does something to them and, turns them into an output. So let's talk about the function x plus 1. I'm going to put some random numbers here. We got negative 3, we got 5, we got 0, we got 7, okay? We run these numbers from the input through the function x plus 1. They're all going to be added to 1, and then that's what their output is going to be, okay? So this negative 3 will turn into a negative 2. This 5 will turn into a 6. The 0 will turn into a 1. The 7 will turn into an 8, okay? This shouldn't be revolutionary for you. You should have seen, these XY tables in math class where you want to graph a line. Let's put some x values down and see what the y values are. That's what this is. The y value can be thought of as the output, and the x value can be thought of as the input. So the function is called f, and it takes in an input of x. This does not mean f times x in parentheses. That's not what it means. It's the way that the function is called. It's f of x. And then they tell you what the actual function is. So it takes in an input x, multiplies it by 5, and then adds 3. And that's what gives you the output. So what you can do with that is you can take the function evaluated with a certain input, like 2. So we're just putting in 2 in for where x was. So we're going to rewrite the function. Wherever we see x, we're going to put a 2 in there. Okay? So f of 2 is going to be 13. We just evaluated the function for an input of 2. All right? That's all function notation means. There are some extra special things that might happen you got to be on the lookout for, like this and that. Little dance moves. You got to be on the lookout for them. If you see them, let me know and tell me, and you'll get extra credit. Hint, I just did them, so you should have just seen them. So tell me that I did them, and you'll get extra credit. Other things you can do with functions is you can, bunch of practice, oh, that's Levi. Yep. You can solve them for input values, okay? So let's stick with this function right here. If we said that f of some x value was 20, we have to figure out what that x value was. So we're going to say that our 20 is equal to f of x, which that's what we're saying right here. We're going to put 20 in for this. So it's basically a substitution problem. 20 is equal to 5x plus 3. So now it's just algebraically solving it. We subtract 3, we get 17 is equal to 5x, and then we divide by 5, and we get, that's a 5. I'm sorry, oh jeez, this is a disaster. Literally the worst thing that could happen right now. X is 17 over 5, which would be 3.4, I believe. Yeah, so that's all for the input. Okay. So besides just knowing how function notation works, the other thing that might come up on these tests is composition of functions, where they nest one function inside another one. And I'll show you what that looks like. So, give you some new functions here. I'm going to say f of x is x squared plus 2, and g of x is equal to 3x minus 1. So they might ask you, what is the value of f of g of negative 2? F of g of negative 2. This does not mean f times g. No. What's going to happen here is we have to work from the inside outward. We start with the very innermost thing, which is g of negative 2. That's asking us to put negative 2 in for the g function. All right? So let's figure that out first. We're going to do that with a different color. We're going to find g of negative 2.
Why not 3, my lord?
Turn off the volume. G of negative 2 is going to be 3 times in parentheses negative 2 minus 1, which is going to be negative 6 minus 1, which is negatron 7. Okay, so negative 2 is equal to negative 7. So now we're going to take that negative 7 and we're going to put it where g of negative 2 was in the first place. So we're going to be evaluating f. Here, come on, blue marker. F of where we used to have g of negative 2, we now put negative 7. And now we take this and we look at the f function. The f function, where can I put my face that makes sense? Yeah, the f function is x squared plus 2. We're going to evaluate that function with negative 7 as our input. All right, so negative 7 squared will be positive 49, plus 2 will be 51. So this is going to be equal to 51. Okay? So you start with the inside function, you work your way out. A fun way to say it is that the output of the inner function becomes the input of the outer function. I'm going to say that again because I love it. The output of the inner function becomes the input of the outer function. All right? Pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. One last thing that you probably should take a look out for. It won't be another dance move. I apologize about that. Here we go. Okay. Gotta let it dry. Gotta let it dry. Gotta let it dry. If you don't let it dry, it's still wet. Somebody take that and put a beat to it. I'm convinced that could be a song. The last thing that could happen. H of x is 4x minus 1. And g of x is, let's get a different color. The square root of x plus 6. All right. They might not ask you to evaluate h of g of x or g of h of x for a certain value. They might just say, hey, what is g of h of x? So they're not putting a value in for x. They're just keeping it as x. So what do we do with that? Well, for keeping it as x...
Oh, make it 3, my lord.
Why?
Why not 3, my lord?
Because 3 only happens in certain cases, and this is not one of them.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, okay, good. It's a peasant over there who always is asking about 3. We're going to leave h of x as it is. That function, we're going to place inside of g of x where x is. All right? So this right here, this entire thing will be the input now of the g of x function. So let's go to g of x now. The input of the g of x function, we put under the square root. All right? So we're going to draw the square root, and then where we used to have x, we're going to put h of x. All right, then we add 6. And then, of course, we can expand this, because h of x has a whole definition. So this is going to be the square root. H of x is 4x minus 1. So we're going to have 4x minus 1 plus 6. All right? Composition of functions. Look at this. Look at all this writing.
Ooh, can I give you a problem?
I think I'd like that, but I'd like to erase everything first.
Okay.
Will that be okay? You all right?
Yes.
You gotta watch out, man.
Yeah.
It's a big world up there.
Enough.
You don't know that. I had a really big salad today.
You did.
A lot of croutons in it, though. I
You're a
realize
very small boy.
that's what makes salads good is croutons. And dressing.
Yeah, so everything but the salad
Right,
is what you're saying.
right.
It's like the SAT. You know what makes the SAT good?
What?
Nerdish.
We're like the croutons of test
We're
prep.
the croutons of test prep.
That's what they're going to call us.
That's what my mom called me growing up.
Did she
I
really?
didn't know what it meant until now.
Right. Well, she
Yeah.
somehow knew. So is she like she can see the future or something?
Dude, moms know about that stuff.
She is a prognosticator of prognosticators.
Yeah.
Why did the tomato blush?
Why?
Because it saw the salad dressing. Do you like it? I didn't make it up. I've heard it
I
before.
figured you hadn't made it up.
No.
I do like it. It's one of those things that you're like, yeah.
It's family friendly.
Well, not. I mean, it's.
It's got adult themes, sure, but the vocabulary is very non-threatening.
Yes, very non-threatening vocabulary.
Right.
Unlike vocab in context, which can be very threatening.
Extremely threatening. That pun made me cringe a little bit.
Oh no, what doesn't make you cringe? Okay?
Yeah, Hono, maybe you're holding back on us when you like something because you just want us to know that there are things that you don't like that we do. And that's fine. We probably deserve that. But maybe there are things that we do that you like. Well, clearly Hono keeps coming back.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Hey, Hono, knock knock.
This is a good one.
Dang it.
Oh,
Who? No! You said, okay, I understand. Who's there? Got it. 2. Come on, Hono. To whom?
it's a grammar joke. To whom?
I got Hono so good.
Yeah. Hono is just reeling in his or her chair right now. All right, what's this prop you keep telling me about?
I'm gonna tell you all about it. I'm gonna actually. Oh yeah, Hono.
Yeah, but that goes down real smooth.
Woo! Like butter when you drink butter.
Oh man, melt that butter.
Drink it.
Drink it. Drink it all.
Remember that song we wrote? Melt that butter and drink it all.
Yeah. We wrote it like, was it on April, was it the 5th? Or
Yes,
the
it
4th?
was the 5th.
The 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
May the 5th be with you.
Remember.
The 4th of December. Ow.
The gunpowder treason. I think it's the 5th of November.
It is.
The
And it's May the 4th be with you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Remember, the 4th of November, the gunpowder treason plot. If ever, oh ever.
Hono's gonna be embarrassed.
What do
when
you
you
mean?
stop it.
Yes. I can't think of a reason the 4th
So-
should be forgot, or something like that.
Okay, so Bert,
Yeah.
if I tell you that f of t
Yeah?
equals t,
Sure.
what does t equal?
F of t.
Yes.
All
What
right,
is the
all right,
constant
I understand
value
this, I
of
understand
t?
this now. Okay, I think I get it. So you're telling me you're putting in t as the input, and somehow the output is also t.
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to forget this for a sec. I'm going to just put f of t. I'm going to put t as the input to our original
Do
equation.
you think it would help if I erase as you go?
No. So if I put t into the f function, I put it where x is. So it's going to be 2t plus 1. But then you're also telling me that the output is equal to t itself.
Yes.
So this is equal to t. So I have to
Yes.
solve 2t plus 1 equals t.
Yes.
All right, well, I don't know if I can do it, but maybe I can. I'm going to subtract t from both sides. So we're going to get t plus 1 is equal to 0. Then I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. T is equal to negatron 1.
I actually tutored a 2t before.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You don't tutor 2t's.
I do. 2t's are tutored by me.
Yeah, it's passive. You're more of an active tutor.
Yes. Very active tutor.
F of negative 1 would be negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. Yeah, that seems like it's right. T would be equal to negative 1. Hey, thank you.
Yes.
I like that.
This is a function notation thing as well. People kind of get weirded out sometimes by this type of looking thing.
Just calm down. Don't get weirded out.
Just calm down. Don't get weirded out.
If you don't like the way you feel,
Repress and
dissociate.
dissociate. That's you, Hono. We're thinking about you and we're looking at you.
Yes, we can see you. Repress, dissociate. Easy. Easy peasy, breezy, cover girl. Repress and dissociate. There we go.
I'm trying to think of another.
That's fine.
What?
Go soon, dude.
You don't have to go that soon.
I know. I have to finish these.
Oh, that smells like vinegar.
That's because it's the vinegar one.
Yeah.
I thought you liked the vinegar
Stinky.
one.
I like the vinegar
Because it
one.
reminds you of making
For
the baking
things that-
soda and vinegar volcano with your dad for the science fair in 4th grade.
I think you're mixing up me and you again.
No.
And your and my childhood memories.
I think I'm mixing you up with every Disney Channel TV show where there's a young kid in a science fair and they make a baking soda vinegar volcano, which is not, it doesn't prove, there's no science there.
There is.
No, there's things happening, yes, but there's the science fair, you're supposed to show an experiment and results. And all
Yeah.
you're showing is something that everyone knows, which is put these together, woo! And it's not even how a real volcano works.
It is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you think there's a lot of baking soda and vinegar?
Yeah,
They just
and an
combine?
enormous giant pouring in a huge wasteful Poland Spring bottle of vinegar into.
You know what I don't condone?
No. Oh no.
Violence. We don't condone violence. Don't think that we do because we don't.
Okay. You got to teach stuff. Are you done?
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, okay. If you're done, then I'm not done. I guess I'm starting.
Yes.
Hey, Eric, are you still here? Say hello. And then also, we are planning to do commas today. Oh no, you've been around for commas a bunch. So if Eric's still here, we can do commas. If Eric's not here and nobody else wants to do commas, then we can do other stuff. Commas are the hardest punctuation on the writing section or the English section of the ACT or SAT or ACT respectively. They're hard. There are 4 uses. What's up? Eric, do you know how to use commas perfectly? Do you know all 4 uses that are really tested on the SAT or ACT? If you do, we won't talk about them. If you don't, we will talk about them. Hona's probably left.
Oh no.
Oh no. We're both your dads. Oh no. Okay. So let's start with that. Let's do independent clauses real quick. So, you didn't leave. That's good. Oh no, what's an independent clause? Prep homework, good. So we got 2 things that these are, and then we have commas. Subject and verb, good. And complete thought, yes, exactly, it can stand on its own. So those are the 2 things that identify an independent clause. Okay, now, the uses of commas. This is where it gets fun. So you already said the first one, items in a series. So listing, that's number 1. It's pretty easy to recognize. So, but there are some special case-y type things that might make it a little weird. So we'll just talk about that now, actually. Might as well. If we have lions, tigers, someone calling me? No. And bears scare me. Where do we put the commas here? So you can, let me know, I don't know, after this word, after whatever. So that's one. We have another one, which will be, we will do the small bear living room is boring. Lions, tigers, and bears. Yes, so not too bad here, right? This is about as easy as it gets with listing. Listing nouns. This comma here is called an Oxford comma. Okay, so it's the comma before the and in a list. You don't have to use it. If you use it, it's fine. They will not test you on it on the SAT or ACT. It doesn't matter. Yes, and then the next one is just here. It's not here. Some people would put it here because we have small, bare, and living. Those are all adjectives. So here we have 3 nouns. We put the listing commas in. Here we have 3 adjectives. You can do it between phrases as well, but you don't put it here. If you put a comma here, the meaning of this sentence changes. Then we have 3 things in the list instead of just 2, and all 3 are describing room. So the room is bare. Yes. The room is small. Yes. But by putting a comma here, now these 3 are it, we're saying that the room is living. We don't mean to say that the room is living. We want living to not be its own thing. Its living room is a unit. It's an entity. And the small is describing living room. Bare is describing living room. So we don't want this comma here. So be aware of that. It does matter. This is an unusual thing. You might see it, but got to keep it in mind. That's why you want to be proving 3 wrong. So that's listing. Those are pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, let me know. Number 2, comma fanboys. Have you heard of comma fanboys? Brady, have you heard of comma fanboys?
I love comma fanboys.
What does comma fanboys stand for?
For and nor, but or yet so.
For and nor, but, or, yet, and so. Okay, so these are used to separate independent clauses. So you have where do I want to do it? Let's do it here. Independent clause, comma fanboys, independent clause. Yeah, there you go. For and nor, but or yet so. Okay, this has to be separating 2 independent clauses, except if you have the Oxford comma here. So if you have a comma in a list, be aware of that, because and is probably the most common of the fanboys. Also be aware, you can't just use a comma to separate 2 independent clauses, and you can't just use but to separate 2 independent clauses. So be aware of that. Okay, I'm going to erase this, and then we'll do the third one, which is much harder. And if you have any questions on this, let me know. The third one is a little bit harder to recognize, and people mix it up with the fourth one all the time. It's sort of a similar concept to the fourth one, but this is slightly more complicated than the first 2, slightly less complicated than the last one. The third use of commas, and now this is our list. It's not the be-all and end-all, and it's not as though there aren't other uses of commas, but this is what people are tested on. So, third one. Dependent clause, comma, independent clause. It has to be in that order. So, sentence-wise, let's say if you run, you will fall. It's a very spreading out will. So here, this is a dependent clause. This word right here is a dependent clause marker. So you have the word you run. That's an independent clause. You have a so what was the link you posted earlier, tests of the real SAT from the past? So was that link you posted earlier, test of the real SAT from the past? Yes. Starting from when they introduced the new version of the SAT. So there's nothing before 2017, because in 2016 was when they said, here's your new thing. Okay. I read past as PSAT. I don't think it has any links to PSATs. Okay. So dependent clause first. If you run, you will fall. This is your independent clause. You have your subject and you have your verb. This is the future tense for fall or to fall. Okay? So this you use a comma. If we invert this, which is I guess the base way of writing this, you'd say you will fall if you run. Now this is not the same thing. We don't need a comma here because our independent clause is here. Dependent clause is there. So in the regular way, you will fall if you will run. You don't need any, you can hear it. You don't want to take a pause. You don't feel the need. And the reason for that is because when you're writing or speaking in English, you want to show where the main kernel of the sentence is. Even the sentence that I just said had that. I said, in your writing, or I don't know, as you're writing or speaking, comma, that's your independent clause. As you are writing or speaking, so that's your clause and then the dependent clause marker. As you're writing or speaking, comma, you want to separate your independent clause from other stuff. So in this example, we have if you run, and then we want to say you will fall. So you have to take a pause to show that, and you got to put a comma there to show that in the words themselves. Here we don't need a comma because we have the word if, which demonstrates to the reader that we've moved on from our independent clause.
Moved on.
We've moved on.
What's after your independent clause?
The dependent clause.
What could be better than your independent clause?
Well, if you run away, are you coming up here?
Yeah, just gotta put my markers away.
You're leaving?
I have a child.
You have a child?
Yep.
I like that.
But I have a child?
Yeah.
Why?
What's not to like? You know?
Yeah, I guess that's a good attitude.
You're
to
already
have.
making Hono uncomfortable with everything you say.
Well, don't
Hono's
think that
probably gone.
you're not part of the problem too.
I'm not part of the problem either. Don't do that.
Hey, give me your lunch money, huh? All
You'd
right.
be the worst bully in the world.
Hey, put it right there. No, your lunch money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You'd be the worst bullied kid in the world. All right.
Just not understanding what's being asked
Yeah.
or demanded.
Yeah.
Okay, dependent clause, independent clause. Yes, questions? Let me know. Last one. Eric, if you are still here, please ask any clarifying questions that are necessary for your happiness. These are non-essentials. Some people call them appositives. I think it's fine to call them appositives because that's the technical term, but I don't like the technical term because it doesn't help. I don't know what appositive means. Non-essential sort of explains what it means just by its own name. What does that mean when the name? What's the word for it when the name bird is? It's just in the name.
Titular?
Titular. Yeah, it's sort of
What are you referring to?
like using the word non-essential instead of appositive.
So you're making it more obvious what it is?
Yeah. So it's a more self-explanatory.
Yeah. I would. There's probably a term for that. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be cold in that?
I'm not gonna go in this.
Okay. So far, I'm doing good. Great. That right there is a lovely use of commas. I appreciate the dedication to good grammar and punctuation. And that's actually an example of a non-essential. So, non-essentials. We have, there are a couple different ways you can do it. You have your independent clause here-ish, and then you could put a non-essential at the beginning, you could put a non-essential in the middle, or you could put a non-essential at the end. It just depends on what you want to be using the non-essential for. So, let's talk about that real quick. If we have, I talk to John about math. Well, I don't like John. Let's go with Eric. Okay. I talked to Eric. We got a C in there? Yeah. Now, we're going to put some non-essentials in here. I talked to Eric about math. That's our independent clause. Technically, it's I talk, but then we have a prepositional phrase here, and we have a prepositional phrase here. Whatever. This is your thing. This is your independent clause, all this stuff. Now, I left some space in here, for an obvious reason, I'm sure. We're going to put a non-essential in here. Let's say Eric is a... I talk to Eric almost every day about math. Okay, so yes, I would say in that sentence that you just wrote, yes, you have a non-essential there. I wouldn't necessarily say you need the commas, honestly. You could just say, I talk to Eric almost every day about math. You don't have to put the commas in there. It's more of a do you want to or not. Those commas are, they are the non-essentials type of commas. They're not absolutely necessary. It's just to show a reader, okay, it's very, very clearly a non-essential, but it's not absolutely necessary. If we put in something like a student, that really doesn't fit in with the independent clause, right? In yours, I talk to Eric almost every day about math. It flows, right? Your gut feeling likes that well enough. It's not wrong, but they would not give you that as an option for a right answer, and then also the option of all the same words with no commas, because both of those are acceptable. But here you have to have the commas. It also helps that I wrote it in pink. But I talked to Eric. You wouldn't say without commas and say I talked to Eric, a student, about math, because we have these two nouns right next to each other and there's no relationship that's clear between them. So we want to put the commas. It shows that this is a non-essential. It needs to be describing something, or what is the word I want? Not describing, modifying something. In this case, it's modifying Eric, right? We're clearly explaining Eric is a student, right? So this is a non-essential that's in the middle of a sentence. You put commas on either side because you have the independent clause on both sides. Now, if I want to add a non-essential to the end, same type of deal. So I'm going to say his favorite subject. So it's like Nerdish, my SAT Twitch streamer, helped me pass my SAT with an above average score. Yes, exactly. Just like that. So that's a non-essential in the middle. It's describing Nerdish. Okay. I would actually say in that sentence, if we're being very nitpicky, it's a little unclear. That last phrase at the end, with an above average score, it's slightly ambiguous. Is Nerdish helping you pass your SAT using an above average score, or Nerdish has helped you with pass your SAT with an above average score? You see how that's slightly ambiguous? Is the above average score being used to help you pass, or have you passed with an above average score? It's slightly ambiguous. It's not actually a problem. It's pretty clear what's going on, so I wouldn't worry about it. But well, I worry about it because I like thinking about those things. I don't know why. So this is now a non-essential at the end. I talked to Eric, a student, about math, his favorite subject. Okay? Here, we have the non-essential at the end of the sentence. We don't need two commas because the sentence just ends. The commas are not there because you always say non-essentials have commas on both sides. No. Everything you put into a sentence that's not the independent clause has to be offset from the independent clause with commas. So we only need the one comma here because the sentence is just over. Now, so we have non-essential in the middle, non-essential at the end, and now this is clearly, nope, wrong marker. This is describing, come on, math, right? And then his is referencing Eric because there's no other person here aside from I, but then it would be my. Could be my favorite subject. Doesn't really matter. Okay, now we could also describe, we could put a non-essential at the beginning. If we say something like, something like giddy with joy. Okay. Giddy with joy, I talked to Eric, a student, about math, his favorite subject. So here, we have another non-essential. It's describing I, right? So these non-essential elements describe the thing right before them or right after them. You have to use context to figure out which. We have it at the beginning. We only need the comma here because we're offset. We just have commas offsetting things from that independent clause that's around. Now, you have to be very careful of what's going on contextually because there are two commas here, so you might think that about math is the non-essential. What you have to do to deal with these things, because the sentences get complicated. This is a sentence that we built slowly starting with something, the kernel was pretty straightforward. So when you get to the SAT, the section itself for the writing, they'll have these big, long sentences that are confusing. A non-essential can be extremely long. A non-essential cannot be an independent clause, so you can't have an independent clause that's a non-essential. But barring that, basically anything can be a non-essential, which means that you have to use context to figure out what it is, and to make sure that it is a non-essential, you have to be able to take it out, and the sentence still has to make sense. So if we take out a student, we can still say, giddy with joy, I talked to Eric about math, his favorite subject. We didn't say a student, but it still clearly makes sense. It's just non-essential information. So if you take it out, you have to still make sense contextually, which it does, and it still makes sense grammatically, which it does. Okay? So that's non-essentials. This is the hardest part of the SAT writing section, in my opinion. I think the non-grammar specific questions can be harder than these, but the grammar and punctuation, I think commas just have so much versatility that it makes it difficult to work through why you're using commas, which is why I started with independent clauses. As soon as you see commas on answer choice, what about, ooh, I don't know what that thing is, but somebody learned his lesson. However, he did it again. Ah, okay. So I don't know what that emoji is, but we're just going with that's the subject of the sentence, yeah? So, let's start with Eric. Eric learned his lesson. However, we're saying comma, comma. Does it say Johnny? He did it again. All right, so you're saying that however is a non-essential here. All right. We have an issue with this sentence. I'm going to actually, yeah, I'll get rid of this. Okay. You have two independent clauses here. That's the issue. So in this sentence down here, we have one independent clause. I talked to Eric about math. In this sentence here, we have two. Eric learned his lesson, and he did it again. You have a subject and verb, and each of those is a complete thought by itself, which means you need to use one of the 4 ways to separate independent clauses. I forget if we talked about that last night. I don't think we did. Do you know the 4 ways to separate independent clauses? The first one being a period. The second one being comma fanboys. Do you know the other 2? Oh, I'm so thirsty. I'm going to check the Discord real quick also. Oh, okay, great. Okay, so this is not an acceptable way to separate independent clauses. That's the issue. We have, because this makes this a non-essential, right? So with commas, you can just, with a non-essential, you can just take it out. If you just take it out, you're left with Eric learned his lesson, he did it again. That's not good enough. No, but we did a lesson on it in English a couple weeks ago, but I forgot. Great. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 4 ways to separate independent clauses real quick. It's going to be independent clause, period, independent clause. That's pretty obvious. Number 2, independent clause, comma, fanboys, independent clause. That's number 2. Number 3, independent clause, semicolon, independent clause. And number 4, independent clause, colon, independent clause. Okay? Okay, so here's the thing. These 4 ways of separating independent clauses are the only 4 ways to separate independent clauses. There are no exceptions to this rule of these 4 things being the only way. Brady commented on the Facebook stream, so you probably can't see it from Twitch. But Brady, I will not give you your lunch money or my lunch money. Yes. So, right, we did talk about that. I think we did, or you did in school. I don't know what you're saying. But yeah, these are the 4 ways. We don't have that way here. Here are the fanboys. These are the only transitional words that you're allowed to use to separate independent clauses. They're called coordinating conjunctions. If you didn't know that, forget it. It doesn't matter. These are the 7 ways to do that. And then these are the 4 overall ways you can separate independent clauses. This is not it. So this is wrong. This is just a non-essential that contextually does a great job separating these thoughts, but grammatically doesn't do enough. What we have to do, this is what I would recommend, is you make this a semicolon. If you make that a semicolon, then you're fine, because you have independent clause 1, you have independent clause 2, and let's include however in that, sorta, because now this however is a non-essential, but only for this independent clause. Okay? Exactly, yes. So your way of doing it, I'm sorry, is that a semicolon? Okay, with the semicolon, semicolons have to separate 2 independent clauses. So what you did in your sentence is you added a semicolon, but then you took away your independent clause afterwards because you made it into but. So you lost your subject, which means you don't have a subject and verb in you don't have a subject in this phrase, therefore it cannot possibly be an independent clause. Make sense? So you have to be aware that when you're adding in a piece of punctuation, make sure you are aware of what you're changing with the words, because if you lose a subject or lose a verb or change the conjugation so it's not an active verb or something like that, then it's not the same anymore. So you could say, he learned his lesson but did it again. You actually, let's write that down. He learned his, I'm sorry about the squeaking, his lesson, but did it again. Okay, so here, you're fine. You actually don't need any punctuation. You might want to put a comma here because then it's sort of making the last part a non-essential. It's sort of giving yourself a break from he learned his lesson but did it again. They wouldn't test you on putting a comma here or not. I would say err on the side of caution and don't put it because it's not absolutely necessary. But in this case, we don't have a subject here, whereas we do have a subject here. Okay? All right. So that's commas. It's independent clauses. This is the base of everything for the punctuation and grammar part of the writing section. Is independent clauses. Commas are the hardest part of it. So actually, I'm going to pull up an overlay, and we can do some questions. Okay, while I erase this, try to do number 1. I don't know how well you can see it. I'll erase that first. But we're going to start doing... I should have written these comma things on this side. But yeah, we're going to do number 1 because that's a commas question. It's also very, very easy to see when you're doing a commas question on the test because you just look at the answer real quick. Right? You glance at the answers, and it's very clear when you're being tested on commas because there are commas in some answers and not in the same place in other answers. So luckily, you know when you're doing comma questions. There's really no confusion about that. Let me make this full screen for myself. Great. Okay. Let's That's kind of cool. Anyway, get this whiteness out of your way. Okay, so I'll erase as we go through this a little bit more. Clearly doing a commas question because we have commas here and there and there and there. So you're saying no change. Snowflakes form from tiny water droplets following a specific process of chemical bonding as they freeze. Yeah, so you picked A. That's fine. I try to, and now you can't necessarily explain quickly exactly why all of them are wrong, but when I'm working with private students, I make everybody tell me why every answer choice that's not right is wrong, because all of them are wrong for a reason. And practice-wise, it's way better to work through and know why everything's wrong. It makes it easier to pick up on stuff instead of just relying on a gut feeling that might not serve you on a particularly difficult question. So here, let's talk about what's wrong with B. Form from tiny water droplets. Okay, so I would say that first comma is definitely no good, right? They form from something. There's no need to put a comma before a prepositional phrase like that. That's not one of the 4 uses of our commas that we talked about, which I should also write again real quick. I noticed that you didn't put a comma after tiny. Let's talk about that. Tiny water droplets. I agree. We should not have a comma after tiny because we're not doing, it's not a list of adjectives, right? You might think droplets is the thing that you're describing, and then tiny and water both describe that, but water does not describe water does not describe droplets. It's water droplets. That's one unit, so you have to say it's tiny only, so there's no list. So that gets rid of B and C. Great. And then D also has that form comma from, which serves no purpose. Eric, what is that last comma after droplets of the choices you have? Oh, great, Hono. Yeah, we can do that next. And then we'll come back to this. So we have listing. Of the 4 we talked about, Eric, what is that comma after droplets? What does it do? So we have listing, we have comma fanboys, we have DCIC, and then maybe I don't want to put it there. I'll put it there, whatever. Non-essentials, or positives, whatever you want to call it. Then, whatever. What is that last comma of these 4 types? Because it is one of them. Question in the Discord, Hono. Okay. Oh yeah, there it is. Sorry, taking a sec. 4. Yes, it's a non-essential. Your independent clause is snowflakes form from tiny water droplets, and your non-essential is following a specific process of chemical bonding as they freeze, which results in a 6-sided figure. So you have two non-essentials, one after the other. Ooh, this looks fun. Oh boy. Okay, Hono, I'm going to do one more commas question to finish this out, and then we'll go to your question because this is pretty involved. Okay, so we did number 1. Okay, let's do number 5. So number 5, yeah, let's do number 5. So number 5 may not immediately strike you as a commas question, but we should talk about it because just glancing at the answer choices, we have freezes and then we have a comma, but what follows the comma changes. The parts of speech change here. We have causing, but then we also have it causes and this causes. In C and D, we've added a subject. We have a subject-verb, subject-verb. Whereas in B, we don't have a subject. And in A, we actually do have a subject. And honestly, I think there's no comma here. So this is definitely a commas question. So let's read this. Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. Okay, right off the bat, we know... Ooh. What's offline? We're offline? Don't know what you mean by offline, but I get scared because I think we're still streaming, no? It's back now. Okay. Really? That's stupid. Why is that happening? My upload is pretty good. Maybe it's Twitch? That'd be a first instead of us. I don't know. Okay, are we back now? Can you, like, everything's good? Or it just keeps doing it? Yeah, our upload's fine. Everything seems okay. B, great. Okay, so let's look at that. Yes, you're right. So let's talk about it. Keeps buffering? That's strange. Maybe it's YouTube. I don't know. Or maybe it's Twitch. Maybe it's is 2A. Like that number 2? No, it's not A or F. Is 2A? Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by 2A, but if you're saying F, then no. We can talk about that in a sec. So yeah, in number 5, we have these commas here, but we clearly have an independent clause starting out. Snowflakes begin to form when water in the atmosphere freezes. And then we have, it causes the water molecules to bond into a hexagonal shape. That's another independent clause. So we have 2 independent clauses in A, C, and D. And in A, there's nothing to separate them. So that's wrong. And in C and D, we're only using comma. IC, comma, IC is a comma splice. That's not good enough. You want B, which makes this type of comma a non-essentials comma. Okay, number 2. The way to approach these questions is very specific. We've just done commas. I will turn the overlay back on in a little bit, but let me just question, and then we'll come back to number 2 here and why it's not similarly. Unless I read that too quickly and I'm wrong, but I'm yeah, it's not F. Okay. Gonna turn this off real quick. And off. Okay. What do we got? This is the hardest type of question. Yes, Eric, it's J. If you can prove to me why it's J, then I won't go over it. But if you can't, then I will. Now maybe it's not up anymore, so you can't figure it out, but we can talk about it in a little bit. Let me do this over here. AX plus 3, BX plus 6. AX plus 3, BX plus 6 equals 12x squared CX. 12x squared plus CX plus 18. For all values of x. So that's extremely important. For all values of x, a plus b equals 7. Good to know. Maybe. Probably. C equals what? C equals what? Yeah? So that's the question. Oh no, let me know if you're not on anymore and we won't do it. Let me just make sure I wrote these correctly. Yeah. Okay, great. So now let's do this. This is what I have decided, or what we've decided to call mirror questions, okay? They're pretty easy to identify. You've maybe seen this question type before and they're just weird. That's fine. The important thing to remember is that it works for all values of x. So A, B, and C are not variables. They're constants. They are coefficients, okay? You're not thinking, oh, A, B, and C are constantly changing. You have to figure out what they are, and there's only possible value. There are finite possible values for them that allow x to be anything you want, because it's for all values of x. So, step one, recognition-wise, may be to FOIL those out, and that's a good idea. And I'll show you the mirroring, or why it's mirroring in a sec. So let's FOIL those. We get abx squared plus 3, let's say 6ax plus 3bx plus 18 equals 12x squared plus cx plus 18. Okay, this is where that all values of x, for all values of x that's true, has to come in. If it's for all values of x, these two expressions have to be identical. That's why we have the plus 18 and the plus 18. This is why we call them mirror problems. You make them mirror each other. So your constant term is 18. Then your x squared terms have to be identical. So we have to make 12x squared equal to abx squared. So that's what we're going to say first. Abx squared equals 12x squared. Obviously, the x squareds cancel out. We get ab equals 12. We can't really go anywhere from there, so let's leave that. Then we have this middle term. So let's change this guy. We're going to factor out our x so that we have a single coefficient. Let me know if that doesn't make sense. But we're going to have 6a plus 3b x. This is the coefficient for the x term, right? We have this x squared term, we have this x term, we have this constant term, x squared, x term, constant term. Yeah? That's really small. But everything is showing. Did I just get another Discord question? No. Okay. So here, we have that equals c, cx. So the x is here, just like here, canceled out. So now we have 6a plus 3b equals c. And we also have ab equals 12. Yeah? So now we know that a plus b is 7. That's interesting. So we have to get rid of, so we have these three. Okay, no, we should be fine. A plus b equals 7. So we now have 3 equations and 3 variables. We can solve for all of them. Does what I've done so far make sense? This is an extremely weird thing that you are probably not taught in school. I certainly wasn't in high school, and when I saw this question on the SAT, I went, I don't know, and I got it wrong for sure. This is hard. That's why we call it mirroring. So you have to have that all values of x are true. You know, this is true for all values of x. They might give you some other stuff. They're asking for one of these other letters here. Seems fine. Unless, am I just cutting out a lot? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Yeah, but I'll probably forget. Okay. Yeah, so here's the goal. The goal is when you see this type of thing, this is pretty easy to recognize, right? With the A's and the B's and the C's and the x squareds and stuff like that. Yes, this is on the SAT. It's the hardest question on the math for the SAT, in my opinion, because you just don't learn it in school. See something like this, make the 2 sides of your equation identical. That's your goal. You're not really using this equation and solving this equation. what you're doing is you are lining things up. You're making it mirror each other. So the constant term, these 18s, are just the same. So great. And then you have your x, you have, let's start on the x squared side. You have your x squared terms. To make it work for any value of x, the coefficients have to be the same. So that's how we built our first equation. The coefficients, AB and 12, those are the same thing. That's one equation. And then the coefficients here are 6a plus 3b for these x ones, and that equals c because that's our coefficient here. And then the 18s equal each other, so that doesn't help at all. Okay? Then we create two equations. They gave us this one. Now we have a system of 3 equations with 3 variables. We can solve those equations and figure out what c is. Good. Okay, so I'm glad the stream is consistent now. This is hard. It's just hard. You see that, you mirror the stuff, you make equations based on the mirroring, and then you solve the equation. So here, this is not particularly fun to solve, but that is what it is. So we get from here, let's solve for a, to get rid of that one. So a equals 7 minus b. Let's plug that in for this guy. So now we get b times 7 minus b equals 12. Great. So here, let's pull this up here. So we get b squared, negative b squared plus 7b equals 12. And then what we'll do is we'll solve, we clearly can't combine our like terms. This is what I was talking to, I think we were talking to old Eric about this, 9865, whatever it was. But this is one of the things. You're trying to solve for b, but clearly you can't combine your b terms, so you have to factor. That's the recognition. I can't combine my variables terms that I want, so I have to factor. Let's add that, so you get b squared minus 7b plus 12 equals 0. This will be negative 4, negative 3. So b minus 4, b minus 3 equals 0. So b equals 4, b equals 3. If b equals 4, then a is 3. If b equals 3, then a is 4. So these are our values for b and a, and they're separate possibilities. Wow, that's really kind of dying on you, sorry. And then our last step, we have this equation that solves for c. So c, we're going to use this guy here. We'll do this guy here. So we have c equals 6 times 3 plus 3 times 4. So we get c equals 18 plus 12. C equals 30. That's one answer. And then here we have c. We're taking this last equation and using it here. C equals 6 times 4 plus 3 times 3. And we get c equals 24 plus 9 is 33, right? So it should be 30 and 33. I do hope that those are those are answers, because I hope I didn't make a mistake somewhere along the line here. 30 and 33, yes. So the answer is C. Okay. I do want you to tell me if anything here didn't make sense or something feels uncomfortable. It probably does, and I'm happy to do another one of these problems if I can find one quickly. How are you feeling about this? I'm going to start finding one, because my guess is you don't like this still, which is valid because it's awful. I think it's way too hard to expect. Okay, so this is actually the simpler part here. So if this is good, then we don't have to do another part of these questions, just getting from the original stuff into this system of 3 equations. Then the reason I got the b times 7 minus b, solving a system of equations, there are the two ways. You're used to solving a system of two equations with two variables, and then there are the two ways to do that, right? There's elimination and substitution. Elimination, I don't like. It's, for whatever reason, really? Why? I don't know why it's cutting out. It does seem fine on my computer. I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, keep telling me, so let me know last thing you heard, Eric, if you missed something possibly important. So substitution is a much more useful skill than elimination is. And that's what we did here. We're solving for C, right? We eventually want to get C equals something. So we're going to, as we go, get rid of variables. So I decided I want to get rid of A first. So I solved for A here, so I got A equals 7 minus B. And then I plugged it into the B, I plugged it into the A for this equation, because these are just A's and B's, right? So actually, this is a system of two equations with just A and B in it. Once I find A and B from this system of two equations, I can just plug those answers in for here, and I get what C is, yeah? So that's the problem with elimination. You can't do elimination here because elimination means, it requires you to have 3A plus 7B minus 4C equals 10, and then something with A, something with B, something with C equals 2, or whatever, right? That's not the case here because of this middle equation, right? We just, Oh no, are you getting a cutout, or is it just Eric? This one doesn't fit that mold, right? We have A, B, and C here. We have A and B here, so C is 0, I guess. But here, we have A times B, which is an issue. You can't use that in your elimination. So it's not going to work very well. That's why when you do elimination, okay, it must be Twitch then. I don't know why, unless you two are in the same area. But I don't think that's the case. Unlikely that that's the case. So the point of elimination is to eliminate one of your variables, right? But that's actually what we just did with substitution, right? We got rid of A. We solved for A and then plugged in for A in another equation. So now we just have B's. We can use this equation to solve for B. That's what we did. We did all of then we had to factor, so it took a while. We got B equals 4 or B equals 3. Then we plugged back into here and figured out what A was for each of those B options. And then now we have B and A here, B and A here. We plugged those in for C, or for A and B in this equation, found what C was. Those were our two answers. Could you also do A equals 12 over B from the second equation? Yes, we can actually do that real quick. Let's try that. All my markers are dying. So if we did that, we get B equals 12 over. Oh, you want to do that way? Okay. Yeah, let's do that. So A equals 12 over B. And now we're not going to plug it into this equation because we still have a C here, and we don't know what to do with C yet. So we're going to plug it into that equation. So we're going to get 12 over B plus B equals 7, yeah? Now, from here, we're solving for B. This, just like yesterday, is we're solving for B, but it's in the denominator. We need to get our variable out of the denominator because we don't like it. I promise you, the reason this is coming up again is not because I'm forcing it to come up again. It's because I know exactly what you need to know to solve the equations on the test. The main stumbling blocks for people who can just, isolate variables pretty well is knowing when they're supposed to factor when it doesn't look like you're supposed to, and that's you recognize that with you can't combine your x terms or whatever you're searching for. Here, when your variable is in the denominator is the other one, or the second one. So we're going to multiply by b on both sides to get rid of that b. So they cancel out when you distribute it here, so you get 12 b squared, and then on this side we just have 7b, which when you mess around with it comes to here. It's math. It makes sense. So yeah, you could do it that way as well. It doesn't matter. Questions? I like this problem a lot. I don't know if you can tell, but I do like it. Makes me happy. Questions? You hate this problem. Got it. Yeah, I totally get that. That's totally valid. Do you want to do another one, Hono, or do you want to just be like, okay, maybe I'll be able to maybe work through it on the test? Do you want me to find another one? We can do that one. I'm happy to do another. I feel as if it were given to me now, I could do it. Okay, then I'm going to find... Another one. Yeah, great. Okay, let's see what I can rustle up. It's going to take me a sec. Yeah, it's not common. It's not common, but it's hard, clearly. You won't get 3 of them on a math section. In one of the practice tests, there are 2. But it's not an official test, it's just a practice test. Okay, let me see if I can find... ST1. Really? That's dumb. Okay. Give me a sec. I will get this for you, Hono and Eric. I will. Amuse yourselves with other things. The silence is killing me. Oh, really? Yeah, baby. Okay. It is basically exactly the same thing. Okay. Gonna take me a sec to erase this, though. Remember, you're looking for the same stuff. For all values of x, it has to work. You see those a's and b's and c's and things like that as well. How's everyone's day? Thank you, Hono, for cultivating community in the chat between the 2 of you. There are some other people, but I love it. Oh. I get sad when Brady's not here to hang out with me. You guys are, so it's good, but think about it. If you're hanging out with Brady most of your life and then he leaves, are you happy? Certainly not. Spend so much time with Brady. He's the funniest person I know. Truly. Suspense is killing me. Test results, like SAT test results or biomedical test results? Okay. You know what? Give me a sec. I want new markers. Give me 1 minute. Okay. Quarterly chem test. That sounds terrifying. Yeah, I can't find the markers, which is supremely disappointing. Also, I don't know if you could tell, unlikely, our chat works now, so we don't have to scroll down every time somebody asks a question. This is where we live. Yeah, so this is in our living room. Yeah. It's kind of nice. I mean, I wouldn't... It would be such a headache if it weren't where I lived and I had to go home at 9:30 p.m. Okay. What was I doing? Yes, I was doing this question. Oy. All right. What do we got here? AX plus 2. AX plus 2. BX plus 7 equals. You know, I'm going to write this up, and then I want you two to just do it, and I'm going to just putz around a little bit and say dumb things. Just ignore me. And I want you guys to try it on your own and then see how it went. But me just telling you how to do this one too is also not going to help. I'll shut up, just do this. 15x squared cx. 15x squared plus cx. It is exactly the same. All values of x. I'm going to write that again just so you get it in your head that that needs to happen. A plus b equals 8. Values for c. There are 2 of them. I'll give you the answer choices too, but get started on these. I'll do some other stuff, I guess, while you're working on this. That's visible, right? Yeah, seems like it. 3, 5. Yeah, okay, so the other guy is Brady, or Bird. Just call him Bird, it's easier now, easier to remember. Yeah, he had a child, like tutoring a child. He does not have any child who is his legal property at the moment. I'm sure that'll come. Children show up. Yes. Ta-da. Do that. Let me know when you're done. I will decide on something else to do. I can tell you about my personal life, but I won't. I hope Brady posted here saying that we were streaming. No. Bummer. Oh, hey, Bathtub. Bathtub, are you here? No, Bird does not have a child. He'd be a good dad, in my opinion, but he does not have a child. You are. Great. Annika Tubb. I don't know exactly where your name came from. Should I call you Bathtub? Should I call you Tub? Should I call you Annika? Unless Annika is just Ani Katub or something. You are. Let me read this question. Hannah. What a picture. Hannah is building a fence along 3 sides of a rectangle, leaving one of the short sides unfenced. Great. The fence has a post at each corner. The rectangle is 30 by 48 feet, measured from the centers of the corner posts. Oh boy, this is going to be messy. So we have these corner posts like that, I guess. And we're fencing here, here, and here. No, we're not. We're fencing here, here, and here because we're not doing one of the short sides, it said. Right? Quick question. Do I include the plus 14 when I'm solving for the middle term? So if you mean by the middle term this x term, no, because the 14s this 2 times 7 is 14. That's a 14. So you each have, yeah, so 14 equals 14. Great. You just, yes, that's true. So wonderful. Yeah, technically you're going to get 3 equations from here. You're going to get your x squared coefficients equation. You're going to get your x coefficient equation. You're going to get your constant coefficient equation. But your constant in this case is just 14 equals 14. So whatever. This is going to be your third equation, the one that's given to you. That's the one that actually helps. Okay. I'm going to look at this on my laptop because I'll read it better. Yeah, why would I have Discord open my laptop? That would have been... Oh, I did. Okay. Okay, so Hannah's building a fence. Oh, I see what's going on in this photo. For those of you who are on, you can check the Discord to see where this question is coming from, because I'm not going to write up the whole question. So Hannah's building a fence along 3 sides of this rectangle. Wonderful. The rectangle is 30 by 48 feet, measured from the center of the posts. So this is 30, and that's going from here to there, and then this is 48. That's going from there to there. Okay. As shown in the figure below, adjacent posts of the fence are set every 6 feet, and there are 12 wooden slats between each pair of posts. How many wooden slats will Hannah use for the fence? Okay, so let's just take this one side here and check it out. So we got 48 feet. And we are starting with a post. We got a post here, and then we have slats. And then so it looks like we have another post here, and we're going to get 12 slats in here, right? So these 12 slats, I don't know how legible that is. This is 12 slats in this area between the 2 posts. We have another post and yada, yada, yada. So we have post 12 slats, which is 6 feet. It doesn't tell us how wide the posts are. But it shouldn't matter. We have 6 of them, right? Or no, so we have every 6 feet. So this is 0, 6 feet, 12 feet, 18 feet, yada, yada, yada. So we're going to have, in 48 feet, we're going to have every 6, so that'll be 8 posts, 9 posts. Okay? So I hope this makes sense, bathtub. We have 9 posts because 48 divided by 6, because the posts are already 6 feet, 48 divided by 6 is 8. But you have that first post as well, right? At 0, you have post here, and then 8 more posts getting to 48 feet. So if we have 9 posts, we have 8 spaces in between them. There's 8 6-foot spaces of 12 posts each. So between 9 posts, there are 8 sets of slats. So 8 sets of slats times 12 slats per slot, right? Or, yeah, per set, per space, whatever. So it's going to be 8 times 12 is 96 slats. But that's only for this side. So this is 96 slats here. Mark is dying on me. Bathtub, let me know if you're not happy with what's going on here, if you don't understand something, if you want me to clarify something. So that's 96. This will also be 96. And then we have 30, so same deal here. So we have 30, which divided by 6 is 5, which means we have 6 posts because we're starting here, and then we have 1, and then keep going up. So we have 6 posts. 6 posts means that there are 5 spaces in between them. So 5 sets times 12 slats will be 60 slats. So this will be 60 here. And then we just add them all together. So 96 plus 96 is 200 minus 8, so that's 192, 252. So the answer would be D. Does that make sense overall, Amber? These things are hard. It's good that you marked up the picture, which is good. You got the 48 feet. With these, the numbers are kind of big, but they're small enough where it is feasible that you can brute force it. You can say, okay, I have a post here, and then I have 12 slats and another post 6 feet later. And then, so you could draw all of it out if necessary. Or maybe do it on the smaller one, figure out what the pattern is, and then you can go back. It seems like you two are on the right track for that problem over there, by the way. Oy. Okay, Bathtub, I'm gonna erase this if you don't have any problems. Seems like you're all right. But keep posting problems for sure. We got another. Oh, we're basically out of time. Okay, stop posting problems. Gonna do that one, and we're done. But be back next week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and all that. All right, let's get rid of this stuff. Okay, so you two doing this problem, what was your first step? First step was probably foiling the left side of the equation. So I will do that real quick. I really want new markers. I'm really unhappy with mine. They've served me well. It's been a solid 2-3 weeks. You're lost. Okay. None of these work that well. All right. Foil those. We get abx squared plus 7ax plus 2bx plus 14 equals that stuff, yeah? So I'm just going to erase this and foil, yeah, okay, so equals 15x squared plus cx plus 14. So we have our 14s. Let's just get rid of those because they're the same. They're not going to help us do anything. Then we have 15x squared, abx squared. So let's do that one first. It's a little bit simpler. abx squared equals 15x squared. Divide both sides by x squared and they go away. Yeah? Did you both get to here? Was this fine? Yeah, good. This is the next one. We have 7ax plus 2bx equals 15x, nope, cx. And then were you also both able to factor out your x so you have a singular coefficient? get rid of your x's. So you have 7a plus 2b equals c. I saw you write this at one point, I think, Eric. So now, I'll write important stuff in blue. We have this guy, we have this guy, and we have this guy as our equations. So a plus b equals 8. And then we have ab equals 15. And then we have 7a plus 2b equals c. Okay. What's good is that you two seem to be fine on that, which is the weirder part of it. And now we get to solving a system of equations. So, did you both take these two as the two that you were going to solve first? Because these are just a and b and two equations. So you're not even dealing with c. You're basically solving a system of two equations, as you normally do. Use substitution. Great. And then just plugging it into here. In this case, that works. In another problem just like this, it might not work that way, but you have a system of 3 equations and 3 variables. You can solve them. You can solve for all of the variables. Okay, you didn't know where to plug in what. It doesn't technically matter, but when you're plugging in, the idea is to systematically get rid of one of your variables. Let's get rid of a. So I want to find that a equals 8 minus b. Yeah? I take this and I plug it into that a. So we're going to get 8 minus b times b equals 15. Happy? And then we FOIL. Nope. Technically, it's not FOIL, but it's distributing, which is FOIL. We get 8b minus b squared equals 15. From here, we see that we can't combine our b terms when we're trying to solve for b, so we have to factor. Going to add b to that side, add 8b to that side, so we get b squared plus, nope, minus 8b plus 15 equals 0. I want you to both tell me that you're with me up until this point. This is important. Very important. Are you both happy with how we got to here? Why is it squared? Because when we're doing this, we're distributing, now this is sort of backwards from what you normally see, but we have b times 8, b times negative b. You got it. Cool. All right. Here, we're going to factor. So we have to add up to 15, and then, multiply to 15, which is 1, 15, 3, and 5. We have to add to negative 8, so it's going to be b minus 3, b minus 5. From here, we know that b is 3, b is 5. What am I doing? Yes, good. 5. So, if b equals 3, then what does a equal? Let's just plug it into here real quick. If b is 3, then a is clearly 5. I don't know why I did that. B is 3, a equals 5. So that's 1. And then the other is when b is 5, that's just awful. When b is 5, a just is going to be the opposite, so it'll be 3. And then you plug those terms into here. So we get 7 times 3 plus 2 times 5 equals c. And we get 7 times 5 equals 2 times 3 plus 2 times 3 equals c. So c equals 21 plus 10 is 31. And 35 plus 6 is 41. There you go. All right. Does that make sense? D, probably, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's where it was. Yep, there you go. Got to do the sponsor thing real quick, and then we can kind of close out and talk about more stuff that you guys want to do in the future. This is Alta Ipsum. They're our sponsor. It means summit yourself in Latin or Greek. I'm not sure which one. It is an online app. You guys should actually try it. To be totally honest, it can't hurt to try it because it's free for a month. It allows you to track your grades, have a schedule planner. It'll set up, but it's more school oriented, academic oriented. So if you say I have a test, it'll just say, do you want to make a study schedule? And then it makes it very easy to make a study schedule. It allows you to stick to it. As Brady says, it allows you to put your stress into the app because the app doesn't feel anything. It's a non-sentient entity. So try it out. It's not gone. This is our tutoring company. If you want private tutoring, then yeah, there you go. But that's more expensive than how free this is, obviously. Okay, so back to this, you two. How do you feel about this? It seems like it's more the systems of equations stuff. And that's why substitution is so helpful. The goal of substitution is to get rid of a variable. You're losing an equation and losing a variable at the same time, right? Because you're going from 3 equations and 3 variables to 2 equations and 2 variables, from 2 equations and 2 variables to 1 equation and 1 variable, and then you work your way back up. Great, you get it now? Awesome. I can, if you remind me, we can find one more on Tuesday just to check in that you're still okay with it on Tuesday. Don't have to necessarily. But Hono, I'm not exactly sure what your study schedule is, but Eric, since you're looking for stuff, this is hard math, and if you don't have to know this stuff to do well on the math section, and knowing this will not make you do well on the math section because it's maybe one question on the test. But it is good to know because it's no fun to hit those problems that you're like, oh my gosh, I definitely have no idea what I'm doing here. So that's this. Eric, I recommend that you do a practice test. You don't have to do the whole thing. If the math is easy for you, then just don't do the math, although I recommend it. Try everything. See what question types mess you up. Have you taken SAT 1, the practice SAT 1? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that probably means you haven't. Because we have, on our website, we have a thing where you can take one of the practice tests. It's not our practice test, but it's one of the free official online ones. And you put in all your answers for us, and then we spit back out a score report to you. And it tells you what the main question types that you're stumbling on for each of the sections. And then you can work from there, and we know what those question types are because we made the thing. Oh, you took it a while ago. Okay, so then maybe not, but take a test, figure out what the question types are that you're messing up. So, figure out all your wrong answers and say, okay, well, clearly anytime there's answer choices with semicolons in them, I don't know what's going on. Or anytime it's one of those 2-part questions on the reading section, I hate them, they make me miserable, and I don't know the best way to approach them. Do that. If you know right off the top of your head that those are hard for you, then we can talk about it on Tuesday. It's called nerdish.com, but we only have the functionality for SAT 1, which is why it's not super helpful yet. Once Brady and I have a little bit more money saved, then, once Nerdish has a little bit more money, we're going to be able to build out that a little bit more, so more practice tests can be done. It's nerdish.com with a 3, not an E. Yeah. There might be some bugs because it's very beta-y and it doesn't look that nice, but give it a shot. Okay, it's very late. I'm not going to go to bed, let's be honest, but neither are you probably. I will see you all hopefully on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday next week, but until then, have a good weekend essentially. Fridays are basically the weekend. Yeah, have a good night. This was fun. I enjoyed it. Maybe you didn't, but Hono, at least hopefully you don't hate these questions anymore. Maybe? Yeah?